Hello and Assalamu alaikum my dear viewers. Welcome to today's video, and from today we are going to start a series on tenses. Since there are a lot of tenses, we're going to have to divide this into separate parts, and there will be around 5 to 6 parts depending on the number of tenses I do in each video. Now today's video is based on present simple and present continuous tense. But before we start with the video, first hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, turn on the notifications, and also share this video with your friends and family. Now let's start with the video. Firstly, what is a tense? So basically, tense is a category of verbs that expresses the time at which an action takes place, or a state or action that is denoted by a verb. Now, there are 3 tenses: past, present, and future. The past shows something that had happened before the time at which the sentence is being made. Present is the time at which the action occurs, like right now. And future is if the action occurs later from today's time. So say if something happened in the year 2020, so it will be past, because right now we are in the year 2021, so 2021 is past. And if something happened today right now, then this would be present. And if something will happen in 2030, then that would be future. So first tense that we are going to talk about today is present simple tense. So firstly, what is the present simple tense used for? Let me just tell you that this present simple tense is the easiest of all, and this is gonna be pretty easy, but the tenses that come further will become harder and harder. So what is present simple used for? Number 1, it can tell things that happen on a regular basis. Number 2, it can talk about general truths or instructions and commands. Now I'm going to show you one example of each of these uses. The first example is: I eat breakfast every morning at 6:30 a.m. I go to work every day. Now this shows regular events, because it shows that something is happening every day. So that is regular event, and in that we will use present simple. The next is: the earth revolves around the sun. Now this is a general truth, because this is true and this will not change unless the solar system comes to an end. So this is a general truth, and this also uses the present simple tense as stated before. The next is: go right towards the buildings, then turn left. Now just a reminder that these bold and underlined words are the verbs in the present simple tense. And this sentence shows instructions, because someone is instructing someone else to go right and then turn left. So here also we will use the present simple tense. Now let me tell you how to form the present simple tense. So basically we use the first form of the verb in the present simple tense, which is basically the plain verb without any additions, though sometimes we need to add an s or es or is or all that kind of stuff in the end of the word with certain words or certain pronouns. Now let me tell you in detail about that. When we have the pronouns I, you, they, or we have any plural noun, we will use the first form of word without any additions. For example, play, sit, hit, go, and watch. All these will be used with I, you, they, we, or any plural nouns. Now when do we add s to the end of the first form in the present simple? When we have the pronouns he, she, it, or any singular nouns, we add s, es, or is, or all the other things that we do in the plural nouns. I hope you remember how we form plural nouns. The same things apply for this. Okay, so when we have he, she, it, or the singular nouns, we use s at the end. For example, plays, sits, hits, goes, watches, and tallies. Okay, now I think this might be very clear, and now let's move on to the next tense, which is present continuous tense. And the present continuous tense is used for 4 different purposes, and number 1 is things that are or are not happening right now. Now you might be thinking why I have added are or are not in here, because there are negative forms of verb as well, like I am not going and I am going. So that I am not going is the negative form of I am going, and that shows that the action is not happening right now. So you can also use each of these tenses in the negative form. Now the second way in which we use present continuous is things that will or won't happen in the near future. Now what does near future refer to? Either the end of the day, like tonight, or in the afternoon, in the evening, or maximum tomorrow, okay, or like even next week at some instances only, because you need to see where you will use future in this case and where you will use present continuous. You should choose the more suitable one. Number 3 is current trends, like things that are currently happening, not in a sense of action, but like the petrol prices are currently increasing, the stock markets are decreasing rapidly. So that is the current trends. And lastly, it is used for things that are always happening. Okay, now let's move on to some examples. Number 1 is Lily is reading a book right now, which is an action that is happening right now. So we will use present continuous for it, as I had told you earlier that if something is happening at that very moment, we use present continuous. Next is we are going to the beach in an hour. So since this action will be happening in an hour, so it is in the near future, and we will use present continuous for this, but we can also use the future tense for it, in a sense of we will go to the beach in an hour. Both of them are correct. Whatever fits you, you can use it. The third example is the stock market is decreasing constantly due to the economy. Now this is a current trend, so we will also use present continuous for it. Next is Jack and Saria are always fighting. Now this is something that is always happening, okay, so we will again use present continuous for it. Now the question arises how to form it, because I have used many different formations of the present continuous in the previous example. So now I'm going to tell you how to form it. The generic rule for forming the present continuous tense is using is, am, are, and adding the present participle of a verb at the end. And what is a present participle? It is the ing verbs that we study in elementary classes, like playing, hitting, studying, cooking, and all that things. Okay, now the rule is slightly modified for each pronoun or for different nouns. Okay, so now I'm going to tell you that in detail. So when the pronoun is I, when the subject of the sentence is I, you use am and the present participle of the verb. Okay, for example, I am playing, I am sitting, and I am eating. Now note that in this example section I have not given proper sentence examples. I've just given a phrase. Now for forming sentences, you will have to add the object or any kind of extension to the sentence to make it sensible. With you, they, we, or any plural nouns, we use are and the present participle of the verb. For example, you are playing, they are playing, we are studying, and boys are playing. Now note this again, that these are not complete sentences. You can edit them if needed. Okay, now for he, she, it, and singular nouns, we use is and the present participle form of the verb. For example, he is eating, she is playing, it is walking, a boy is running. Now I think this might be very clear as well, but if not, you can always watch this video again, and that will probably clarify your concepts. And now what types of questions can you get in your exams or tests or even worksheets? So you can be asked about what is the use of a certain tense. For example, you can be asked what is the use of present simple tense, and then you will have to tell it in proper sentences what is the use of it. You can also be asked to make sentences with using the appropriate tense. And lastly, which is the easiest, but also it can be very hard if there are a lot of tenses that you need to remember, you can also be asked to fill in the blanks with the correct form of tense. Now, when we learn a lot of tenses, this will be the most frequent exercise that you will be doing in your grammar classes for tenses, because you can't always be making 30 sentences, because there are around 12 to 15 tenses, and it's not easy to make so many sentences. So you'll be just asked to fill in the blanks with the correct form of tenses. So that's it for today, and I hope you understood this video, and thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.